All right, hello, I'm Stephen Sadler, reading to you again from my book, Money and Power, The Secret History. We've been talking about oil, we've been talking about corruption, and one of the best examples to share with you is what's known as the Enron loophole. We've all heard of Enron, the energy trading company. Well, Texas Senator Phil Gramm, one of the all-time top financial recipients from the oil and gas industry, was leading a pact to get a certain loophole passed into law that would enable Enron to overcome some regulatory oversight. They created what was called ICE with the help of J.P. Morgan and some other large banks, Goldman Sachs. And what they basically did is traded up the market. And nobody was watching this. One of the things you ought to know is Phil Gramm's wife, Wendy, sat on the board of directors of Enron, and she also sat on the auditing committee that was supposed to have the oversight. She made millions sitting on the board of directors, as did Phil Gramm. But more interestingly, if you read The Tyranny of Oil by Antonia Jerez, she claims that both Enron, the company, and its top executives were the single biggest contributors to George W. Bush's campaign and throughout his career. So what Gramm was able to do in December of 2000 is he slipped into what was called the Commodity Futures Modernization Act that got stuck into an 11,000-page omnibus appropriations bill like the night before it went out for signing. So it was literally snuck in there. And immediately, energy prices started going up, particularly in California. An example of this is in 1999, California paid $7.4 billion for wholesale electricity, and in only 1 year the costs rose to $27.1 billion. That's an increase of 227%. That was just profit made by Enron. In 1999, in 2007 rather, Michael Greenberg, who was heading up the Senate hearing on the case, says it is now beyond a doubt the manipulation of the futures and derivatives contracts pursuant to the loophole, the Enron loophole, dramatically increased the market price of electricity in the western United States. And this same company, Enron, hired Arthur Andersen to hide toxic assets offshore so the stockholders wouldn't know that they were in financial trouble. That's absolutely deceptive. That's another example of the kind of stuff that goes on in these big corporations. They retained Arthur Andersen to audit their books, but Arthur Andersen was the same company that was telling them how to hide their toxic assets offshore as a consulting company. So there was a conflict of interest, and these conflict of interest continue today in major corporations all over the world. This is why we need regulation. This is why we need a government that has teeth and like a police that can make sure these crimes don't occur, because it is a crime.